time for our guest tonight. Our guest tonight is Mel Allen with Project Forward Leap. He is the president, CEO, and founder. Project Forward Leap is a nonprofit focused on underprivileged youth. It's now in 8 cities, and it focuses on educational enrichment for middle and high school students. Good evening, Mel.
Good evening.
So, could you tell us a little bit about Project Forward Leap? When was it established? Why was it established?
Sure. PFL, I shouldn't start using initials. PFL meaning Project Forward Leap. Project Forward Leap was established in 1988. At the time, I was an attorney for a company that came to me and said, we want to make a community investment in some of the communities where we have businesses. I advised them to establish an educational enrichment program, namely Project Forward Leap, to provide opportunities, educational enrichment opportunities to kids in these areas. By the early 80s, there was a lot of data out that said that there was an academic achievement gap between disadvantaged kids and advantaged kids. There had been a program called Head Start, a federal program,
Correct.
And it had shown that intervention with these early childhood kids made a significant difference in their achievement. The problem was that within a year or two after they left Head Start, because they typically left it after, I think it was maybe 2nd grade, by 3rd, 4th grade, you began to see a gap developing between kids, even the kids who had been in Head Start and other kids. And by the time, and then this gap just continued through high school and just got worse. So we decided that we wanted to start this program at about 5th grade. We identified 5th graders and brought them into the program, well, that was basically what it was. The idea was that the program would prepare these kids for college preparatory courses in high school, which meant that they needed to take more math and science in the middle schools, which was typically not available to inner city kids and not even to many rural kids, because we had rural districts as well as inner city districts. So that even if the kids managed somehow to graduate from high school, when they went to college, they were at a disadvantage because they couldn't enroll in technology and science programs. Or if they decided that they wanted to not go to college and enter the job market, well, you know, at the end of the 20th century and then certainly in the 21st century with an increasingly scientific and technological job market, they just were not prepared. They were at a disadvantage.
I see you guys use taglines of culture, achievement, and deep impact learning. Can you kind of explain what that means?
Well, in a nutshell, it's about creating an educational environment of high expectations in which high academic achievement is viewed as attainable and valued. Shortly before PFL was established, I was asked to make an appearance as a guest speaker for a Black History Month program because they wanted to bring in role models to show kids that what was possible, talk to people about what's possible. Rather than give a lecture, which typically 4th graders don't respond too well.
Let's have puppets, right?
I decided that I would take them through a mock trial exercise. I let those students decide upon the legal problem, and then I asked them to begin to talk about the issues that might be related to the legal problem, who would be the parties. I was amazed at the detail that the students came up with in terms of the legal issues, how they enumerated them. The parties, I mean, they talked about not just the plaintiff and the defendant, but they also talked about the bystanders. They talked about family. They talked about the press and so on. And then we did the exercise during the class period, and at the end of the period, we had to wrap up and we had to process. And I was amazed at, you know, what they saw as being significant about not just the substance of this activity, but the process itself and what they picked up in that short hour. Because it was a short hour. It was it was a lot of fun. As I'm walking out with one of the teacher said to me that my colleagues and I were a little concerned about your approach. We thought you were going to give the kids a talk, and instead you did this. And I said, well, what exactly was the concern? Well, the concerns, Dr. Allen, was related to the fact that, you know, you should know that these kids are not college material. Well, I was stunned, okay? First of all, because I had just spent this hour with the kids, and I saw this intellectual curiosity and intelligence pouring out of them. but also because these teachers thought of themselves as the kids' advocates. They're the ones who bring in speakers because they want them to have role models so they can achieve. But what they were telling me, without even perhaps being conscious of it, is that we don't really believe that these kids have much possibility because they're not college material. And here we have fourth graders, and I'm thinking that in the fourth, if you write kids off in the fourth grade, first of all, there's no way to keep that secret from them. Kids pick up on whether you think they have that. I mean, just think of people you know who have children and how they treat the one child that they think is the star and how they treat the other child that they think is, well, you know, that's your child, sort of thing. So that happened to happen around the same time that I was asked by this company to advise them on a community investment. So it was kind of serendipitous that I had that question and I had this experience, and that's part of that was the other piece of what said we should do this. Now, as far as creating the culture of achievement, though, to get back to that, we want to have students in environments and learning environments where they value academic achievement. They're not thinking just about, I want to be in sports, I want to play basketball, I want to play football. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those. I played basketball. I was got athletic scholarship and academic scholarship, so there's nothing wrong with athletics. There's nothing wrong with going to entertainment. But I wanted the kids to value academic achievement. And so you have to create that kind of environment, and you have to make them feel like this is something that's for them. It's not something for those kind of kids. And oftentimes in the inner city and even in some of the rural communities that I'm familiar with, kids who are high achievers are sometimes ostracized by the other kids. In the environments that we create, and by the way, these environments are on college campuses because we decided that we needed to make the experience concrete right away. And so we took the kids to college campuses, and they stay there. And they do that for 4 summers. So like your children and my children, they know from the time that they're 10 years old what it means to be in college, what college is like. It's a reality. It's not just a word that they hear from somebody that has no real meaning to them.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about what you do in these programs in the summer at the colleges, and sort of what are the qualifications of the kids you choose to participate in this, and is there then a way to sort of bring that back to the individual school districts? And how do you choose which school districts you actually serve?
Okay, well that's, Paul, I think that's about 4 questions, but let me...
That's Paul for you.
All right. Let me start with the first part of the question, which is what do we offer the kids? Well, the kids take a core program in mathematics, sciences, writing/literature, and Latin. That's the core. And the kids are in those classes every day for the entire 5 weeks that they're on the campus. And those classes run for all 4 years. And then they run in ascending sequences. So for example, in math, it starts with pre-algebra, then geometry, then the second year of algebra. In the case of science, it starts with biology, chemistry, and physics, and then engineering. So that by the time that these kids are in the 9th grade, they've had a pretty sophisticated exposure to core academic subjects. Then they're complemented by things like computer and other kinds of technologies, debate, creative expressions, different art forms that they want to do, whether it's singing, drama, whatever. And another thing that's very important to us is personal growth and leadership, values, education. We do that. And then the students have to do some community service. So those are the kinds of things that the students are doing in the summer. In the school year, we do a Saturday academy, which has an enrichment program, and you bring in experts like yourselves, for example, to talk to students about specific topics, and they get very excited about that. So I think that's the first part. Now let me see. There were 3 more parts to that question.
So I asked.
Another question was about their qualifications.
Yeah. How do you choose the students that get to participate?
Well, our mission is to close the achievement gap between students from advantaged backgrounds and students who are disadvantaged, either for reasons of economics or education. Now, what I mean, economic disadvantage, they're poor essentially. Educational disadvantage means that they're in an underperforming school district. They're in a school district that doesn't offer what, say, a mainline or a mainstream school district has to offer. So even things like algebra and math courses, which are taken for granted in a mainstream school district, those things may not be available to kids in inner city schools or rural schools until their 10th and 11th grade. So even if they do well in the classes, they haven't taken enough of them. By the time they get to college, they're still considered to be underprepared. So anyway, the qualifications are that the students have to be either educationally or economically disadvantaged. They need to have a 2.75 average on a 4.0 scale, which essentially means C plus, B minus. We don't cream, although a lot of the students we take have B and higher averages. They have to have an interview with an admissions team, which normally is a staff person and a donor or a volunteer. We require test scores, but that's not an admission requirement. That's simply so that we know how to place the kids once they're in the program.
Well, that sounds good, but unfortunately, we do not have time for the other two questions I asked.
Okay.
So we can take those offline, but I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and we really enjoyed your discussion of Project Forward Leap. Next week, our guest is Stephen Tolman, who is CEO of Yaupon Therapeutics. And what Yaupon Therapeutics has is gel drug delivery for fungicides for human use. And from all of us here at Money Matters TV, your money matters.